Good afternoon, everyone. Just a disclaimer, I'm very unwell actually, but I have to get up for this session because it is a very important session. And it's kind of ironic that we have such less presence in this panel, much like how it is in real life too. I wish there were more people as audience. I understand that when we wanted to put this panel as a part of the theatre festival, we had to go through some struggle because it wasn't, it didn't seem important to a few people that this panel be there. And it is exactly why we are doing this today. I would like to welcome you all. From what I know, all of you are brilliant theatre makers, performers, and I've had a chance of watching some of your performances here and in India. And I just feel very privileged that I'm able to moderate this session. I would like to start with a general question of what kept you going? What kept you going? So that would mean anything to you. Shabari, do you want to start?
I'm actually pretty new in theatre, to be honest. But I've been in performance for about 20 years. And I think, I don't know, I want to say just the fun of it, like the joy, the kind of sense of being alive, and not particularly on the stage. Many people would say that, when I come on stage, I feel alive. But I feel like when I have permission to be in my body, I feel alive. So whether that's in my own house, or whether that's in a rehearsal room, or whether that's in a swimming pool, or whether that's on a stage, somewhere where I'm allowed to fully live and explore and express and do stuff through my body, that gives me a lot of joy. And I feel very grounded and clear focused when I'm in that space, and I feel like it's been coming back to that's kind of kept me going.
Okay.
I guess I've been sort of very lucky to find mentors very early in my artistic career. And Veena Pani, who founded Adhikari, I think she sort of gave this idea that to be an artist, you also have to be very refined as a person. And that sort of, for me, means that it is a work that you do on a very daily basis. So that doesn't mean that it only is about performance, but it's also about certain discipline that you have to take on as artist. So I guess it is just this idea of working towards a sense of perfection, whatever that means for you as an artist. So I guess it is that. It is the struggle to get to that.
Well, I think next question, you can take it from there, but to Kismat and even Srijana, I read that somewhere that you've also created a little theatre space in your own residence. And Srijana here, she's also building a theatre out of something, and as I talk about myself, this is my father's house, and this theatre is a terrace of my father's house. So just getting at that, like, what drove you to do that, and where did you feel that the necessity to do that? And
where my theatre space I have built, it is also of my dad's property. He has built that auditorium and the little box theatre for me. But when I used to do theatre, I belong to an Orthodox family from India. I'm originally from Rajasthan. So earlier we girls were not allowed to do theatre, especially in Mohammedans, in Muslim family. So I belong to that tribe. So I was not allowed to do theatre. But after seeing my performance, my play, my father had built that space for me. And yeah, there has been a lot of challenges, a lot of struggles, and it feels great. You know, like you said, what made you to go and you kept alive, you know, always searching for the new concepts, working on that. And after the performance, your discussions, your appreciation, when you get appreciated for your work, all these things, you know, make me and make all the artists alive and keep going.
Theatre, Bano.
सबैले बाउको भने मैले चाहिँ मेरो ससुराबाको स्टेजमा बनाउँदै छु हैन
Building it in my father-in-law's space. Challenges this Bano.
त्यो त मेरो बनिसकेको छैन अझै पनि है बनिसकेको छैन फाइनान्सियली पनि अलिकति गाह्रो भइरहेछ तर कम्प्लिट हुन आँटेको छ धेरै कुराहरू छ त्यो गरेर एक्सप्रेस गर्न गाह्रो हुन्छ त्यो कुनै दिन प्लेमा देखाउँला
Like I'm like really frightened. You literally skipped me. I started my journey in 2000 and it's been amazing. Might tie that on anyway. So one thing that that made me, you know, not quit theatre, that gave me more energy was theatre itself, because I always felt that I could experiment and do things that I can't do at home. And I could, you know, find myself, which I can't do at home. She comes from a more orthodox family. My family is liberal in terms of education, but they were not happy when I wanted to do theatre. And in parties, when I meet people, they ask me, what do you do? And I do theatre. And they say, yeah, but what's your job? So I keep doing this because I want to show them that this is my job and I love doing it.
All right, thank you. Nimi, I want to get back at you actually. I was going to ask about having a female mentor, and most of you probably have had mentors in your life or a figure that, you know, kind of pushed you to be where you are. And how do you think it was different having a female mentor guide you?
I guess I haven't worked with a male director, but which I will be very soon with an artistic director. But I have been very fortunate to work in a circle where power is not seen as a struggle, where it is more seen as a state of being. Because I think my lessons have mostly been come with Vinabani, and all the people that I have actually looked up to are female people who show power not with the kind of, you know, they don't keep a stick in their hand. I think it's a mixture of a certain kind of discipline and compassion. And I think there is a lot to learn from there. And I think when you become very insecure in what you do is when you want to, you know, stamp people down. And I know it happens elsewhere, but I have been personally very lucky to find myself in Adhikari where I had examples to look up to, where Vinabani mostly at that point had male actors. So therefore, she did not give me a preference. She did not treat me like a female actor. I was just, as you know, I was just put amongst all these stalwart actors. And I think I learned from there. I think it's just a state of being. which pushes you towards. Also, it's also about being aware when it happens and when it does not. So I think, yeah. So I've been.
Yeah, and Loonibha Didi, from what Nimi is saying, like I think in case of Nepal and our community here, we kind of lack that kind of strong female mentorship and sometimes even like a male mentorship. So what do you think, in spite of that lack, how did you overcome these things?
I think you're very lucky to have a female mentor. I don't know how that feels, but most of them, people who know me, I had a very strong mentor. We worshipped him as a god, a brother, a father, everything. But since I was, then I was 17, and I was, very ambitious. I wanted to do something. And I was also lucky because I was from the city. I didn't have to struggle to pay for my rent. My father was taking care of everything. But in that situation also, people, thought that I would go further, I will develop, and I would do good. So they started accusing me of having an affair with my mentor. And I was just 17, and I was not interested in a man who has a tobacco in his mouth 24 hours. And so, yes, I've had mentors who are really supportive and who helped me come out of that phase, that stress and that depression. And that I think we are getting what the mentors are giving us. And it's also the passion that we have in ourselves that drives us more than the mentors who's like, seriously, I know it's my fault, but I've never had mentors who literally come and guide you in your rehearsals, never. They'll come and watch your play and they'll say, that was not right, this was not right. And all we do is, yeah, sir, yeah. And if we have time for rehearsal, we would improve it. If we don't have time, then they were drunk or they were not in a good mood. But overall, can't be very biased towards good mentors also, nor be very rude to the mentors who are not being there as mentors. But I think what we Nepali society and theatre community, and there are other female directors here, we have been totally driven by, I think, our passion and the background that we've got from our family and homes.
Okay, thank you. With this, I want to also get at the fact that I think Shabari, you and even Nimi, you come from dance backgrounds, as I've understood, and I'm sure there was this transition. And Shabari, you said your journey is still recent, and Nimi, for you, it's been a long time. How was the transition from coming from a dance background to now theatre, and what were the challenges, if you'd just like to talk about that?
When I direct a play, I start with the body, and for me, performance is based in the body. Otherwise, you can read a book or do a radio play or something. So the minute you put a live person on a stage, the body is already speaking. And I think a lot of my dance training really helped me both read bodies and also direct physicality. And I think that came really well to me, that came easily. And I think a lot of the work that I have been asked to direct, for example, with the Big Fat Company, many people kind of thought that that's my group, which it isn't. I was invited to direct, and I asked them, why are you asking me? And they said, because we want to get into our bodies. We don't want to be actors who just act with their faces. So it's been good. Of course, initially I would be very nervous about, character work or scene work or developing a script, because a lot of the work that I do is also devised. So we don't work with a pre-existing script. So to create script and narrative and character and dialogue and narrative tension, etc. Those were the things that I'd be a bit like, oh my god, am I getting it right? But again, I've had, especially in the theatre part of my journey, I've had pretty good support and mentorship and help from other people. So yeah, so it's good, and I really feel like what excites me is to bring those two languages together, not to say now I'm directing a play, now I'm doing a dance, and to bring those two languages together, and I think that's been really rewarding as well.
I think for me, I think theatre is what I was meant to do, and I think dance sort of was a preparatory stage. That's how I see it. I have, from a very young age, was dancing, and I think at some point in my life, I just didn't connect with it at all, and that was very scary for me because I thought I would always be a dancer, is what I thought. But I think it's also because I was studying in a place where you're not taught to think also, meaning like we were only supposed to dance, and that was we were supposed to do. We were not allowed to ask any questions. And I think I am my nature is that if I don't get convinced, I can be quite irritating. And so I think somehow that didn't really work with my teachers and me being very irritatable all the time. And I think at that point I found Veena Pani, and then the kind of work that Veena Pani made me do was very scary, because there was some amount of work that I had done in the body because of dancing, but it was also very scary because she was asking me to think independently, which I was not used to. So I guess dance sort of prepared me for the work that I should be doing for theatre, but I think it was a good groundwork that I did. But now the kind of work that we are doing, I feel it gives you an idea of, I somehow feel dance talks about the same thing. I mean, like the hand gesture, the eye, the emotion, everything is pointing only towards one thing. Where, on the other hand, theatre gives you this luxury of having multiple significance at the same point. Like at that moment, you could be talking about many, many things. So I think that was sort of a very crucial difference I felt, and I think that is something that excites me.
So another thing that I want to get at is like, especially women in theatre, especially when you get married and everything and you have a child, we see a trend that most people, it is very difficult for them to return back to theatre with the same kind of aura, the same kind of zeal that you had before marriage or before a child. And I'm aware about Loonibha and Srijana as young mothers of two lovely children. And we know about this journey personally, but I want for you to also talk to the audience about what has been, because there is a pros and cons of both, There's pros of having a child and how it supports your journey, and also how it does not support your journey. So just share your experience about how being a mother has been and continuing your work in spite of that.
Akanchha, I'll start from when I got married, because my society I got married, that's why I became mother. So when I got married, I was like doing roles with people. I was playing Darhan's wife and different people's wives. And one day my mother-in-law, we're having grapefruit in the sun, and then she sits next to me and she says, "Don't play others' wife." It's not nice, We have relatives, we have family members. Don't play others' wife. And my mother-in-law said, "I can't read, but people tell me that the news is about you in the newspaper, and it says Tuladhar, not Karki. Yeah, why did you change your surname? You've been living with my son, sleeping with him. You should change your surname." And I said, "See, there are people who sleep with many people. They can't change their surnames every night, So I'm not going to change my surname. That's what I want." And then I had this constant pressure of having a baby for the society. And I was married for 5 years, didn't have a baby, and I had thyroid, and I'm big and fat, and my father-in-law always thought that I'm fat, that's why I'm not conceiving. So with theater, I have no problems with marriage and all, because before that I didn't have any glamorous role. Marriage didn't stop me from that. And later also, I was never offered glamorous roles, so it didn't make much difference. So, my mother-in-law, she started looking for another wife for my husband in the village, because she thought I would not stay and stuff like that. And I got pregnant and everybody was thrilled. And then now the pressure starts of a boy. And my doctor, she did not give me the details about the sexuality of my baby. She said, this is your first baby, what do you want to know? But my mother-in-law always thought that I'm not telling them because it's a girl. And so I got pregnant, I was rehearsing till the last day of my pregnancy. I never had a problem, touch wood. I had a very happy pregnancy, I got all the attention, everything. I didn't crave too much, I didn't nag too much, I was my pregnancy was good. But after the baby, it came the earthquake. Things were worse after that, because I had to literally run with the baby, because the 8 by 10 feet cupboard came on slam on the baby's cart, and if I hadn't made it in a second, my baby wouldn't be alive. So after that, I had lots of problems with my body also, because all my stitches tore while running. It was a C-section, and but I still had to work, because I had already taken this project with television. So I left my 2-month-old baby with my mother and father, and I had to go to work. So it was scary, because I thought there might be an earthquake anytime. So, but I was doing Srijana's play, Milk Tea. Srijana, that was your first play?
Yes.
Yeah. So people didn't trust us as female directors, you know. People were joining the team, quitting, joining, quitting. There were many actors changing. And I knew she was going through hell, so I said I will not quit, don't worry, I will not quit. And we used to have rehearsals on Skype, because her husband was also playing in the play and he was in Sri Lanka. It was crazy, but then my baby had interception with his large intestine, his small intestine went through his large intestine, and it was horrible. But I had to do double shoots. So there were times and places, things that the show must go on, you know, so I had to go and work. But, you know, people don't want to cast mothers because we have lots of issues. The school might just call, and then I might just have to go and pick my baby up. So things has happened like that. And, like 4 months back, I had an interview with this very popular cyber journalist, and my baby was very sick, and the school called, so I left the interview, and he said it online that I didn't come for the interview because I didn't want it to come. I made an excuse. Such things happen, but at times it's easy and fun also. If I don't want to come, I can say my baby's ill. If I'm too lazy, it's raining, I can say, yeah, my baby's ill, I can't come. But I don't do that much, because I did a residency with Bakhtiar, a friend from Pakistan. She said, make any excuse, but don't tell people that your baby's sick, even if he or she is really sick. Because then they'll start judging you, and that will affect your work. So I think it's fun, but I take him everywhere. I take him in my performance. Yeah, I think he'll grow up to be an actor too.
Srijana.
My baby भइसकेपछि पनि मलाई त मेरो बेबी भयो भनेर बिलिभ हुँदैन थियो काममा आउँदाखेरि के काममा आउँदाखेरि चाहिँ मेरो बेबी छ भनेर एकछिनलाई चाहिँ बिर्सिन्थे तर बीचमा म एकचोटि 6-7 दिनको टुरमा गएको थिएँ त्यतिखेर चाहिँ मैले एकदमै मिस गरेँ त्यस्तो प्रब्लम त आउँदैन तर अब फ्यामिली सबै आज पनि मलाई प्रब्लम त आएको थियो म अघि 10 मिनट अगाडि मात्रै आइपुगेको छोड्न नसकेर किनभने कोही पनि छैन घरमा यस्तो चिजहरू तान्छ just manage भइरहेछ अहिलेसम्म.
It's been difficult, but I've been managing, and when I was, what she said was when I first had the baby, I couldn't believe that. I remember she used to tell us like, I can't believe I go home and I look at this thing and this child, and I can't believe it's mine, it came out of my body, and she used to be very in disbelief that, she just gave birth to a child, and I think now she's gotten used to it. Okay, Kismat, I wanted to come at you, I was also reading a bit about you, and you're quite young. I think you're one of the youngest panelists sitting here right now, and you were nodding when Loonibha was like, people don't trust female directors. So I wanted to ask you, yes, people don't trust female directors often, but young female directors, how has that been for you, and coming from the city that you're from Guwahati, and I don't know if the art and theatre culture there is thriving, or is it still like very stagnant? So how has that been for you to convince people what you're doing and the effect that it can have? So would you like to share a bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, up to class 12, I didn't know about theatre. All I knew is that films and this TV serials. And from childhood, I had aimed to be an actress on screen. So when I was in my 12th standard in college, I came to know that there's a theatre workshop going in our college. So my parents are basically from Rajasthan. I mean, it's different state in India. So you have Nepali language, we have this Assamese language in Assam. So my Assamese language is not fluent, and that workshop, it was in Assamese language. So I told my friends that I want to do this workshop. I'm saying a bit about my journey. So I told them, so many of my juniors and seniors, they told me that this workshop is only for Assamese people, those who can speak language, Assamese language, but you are not fluent, and if you do workshop, you won't get any character to play. So I told them it's okay if I don't get any character to play, but I'll just sit and I'll watch the whole process of the workshop, because that was my first time. Earlier I didn't know about theatre. So I went to the teacher, the one who organized a workshop. So I told them that, ma'am, I don't know Assamese language, but I want to do theatre. So she said me that theatre has no language. And from that dialogues of her, I started doing theatre, and right now I'm in Nepal. And I used to, after that workshop, I used to work as an actor. But like I told you, my culture, my family, my ancestors, they are a bit of orthodox. Child marriage still prevails here. So I was doing, as an actor, I was doing theatre, and like you said, they don't know what is theatre. So whenever my auntie and everybody, they used to ask me what she does, my mom, used to say she does theatre. So for them, theatre is like, dancing on a stage, doing modeling, a kind of cheap shows, because some of them, they still don't know what theatre, they have not watched any performance. So this things was there. So my relatives, my aunt who used to live in Rajasthan, they used to call my dad and said, your girl, she's growing up, it's better to get married before she gets into, this theatre modeling and all. So, this call used to come. So finally, and every parents, and I was very young, that time I was in class 12. So we had the system of child marriage. So that's how they, used to call my parents. And one day they said that, there's a boy who is a doctor, you should come and you should, do the engagement and kind of ceremony. So my parents agreed, because they thought, they thought a good future for me. So we went there, and this village women, they gave me dupatta, they gave me tea and said, you don't speak too much, you just be silent and tell them that you are not studying, you have just completed your school. Okay, so when I went there, this female ladies was there. They were looking at me, they were staring at me, and they were sipping their teas,
And some of them one of them, she told that, does this girl she loves because we want to see her how many teeth she has. And the other is saying, oh, tell her to stand up, we want to see her height. This type of comments. So my aunties, they told me to get up. So when I got up, and they said, okay, we have seen the girl, now let our male member of the family, they will decide whether they liked or not. So the male member, they came, and I was standing in between this both two female and male, male and female. So they were watching me, they were observing me. At that time, I had several things, several things started inside me. And that time I was working as an actor. And I think after 1 or 2 days, they said that we didn't like the girl because the girl is too small because I am not that much tall, and beauty according to them, a girl should have a pointed nose, fair skin. So I didn't have all this. My nose is not pointed, I have no fair skin. And right now I thank God that I didn't have such quality. If I would have, I would have been in Rajasthan with 2 or 3 kids. So after that incident, I thought that, I must do something. Otherwise, this was the first time. Second time, anybody can say, yes, we want to get married. So I want to get out of that situation. So in school, I used to hate books. I used to think that who write book, who the hell, they purchase the book and they waste money. So after this incident, I thought that I should I should do the direction of the play, but I was not getting any idea and I had no experience in direction. Just a voice came. And the insecurity which I was feeling inside, there was a lot of question, curiosity, a lot of things was going inside me, but I didn't know that what it was. As an actor, I used to work in another theatre company. They would tell that, okay, fine, do this, their orders, direction, but I was not happy with that. I wanted to do something. So I thought I should do a play. So I started, that process helped me a lot. I started reading books on Googles, in library, and the search for my new play, search for a new story has begun. So I used to read a lot, and meanwhile I found this book about this Helen Keller's autobiography, which I performed just, at a theatre mall. So when I read the story of Helen Keller, I found it very similar to me, because Helen Keller, she was not able to see, she was deaf, mute, and the time when I went there, the people who came to see me, I was feeling the same. I was able to see, I was able to hear, I was able to speak, but at that time I was that character of my play, Helen Keller. I was fully mute, deaf and dumb, because I was not allowed to speak. If I allowed, my parents would definitely kill me. So I found that character very similar. So I thought that I should do the play. So everything, and that process, after reading books, after that reading Helen Keller's book, I started loving books, and I started liking, I started liking to write the stories. So after completing the story, I started scripting. So I edited and did, and when the time was to come to organize team and to do rehearsal, the same thing happened with me. I told many actors that I'm doing this play. They said, oh, fine. The same thing, they were coming, going, promising, breaking, and everything was going. So I had only few actors. We did rehearsal, and one boy. I'll tell you, there was one guy. I told him that I'm doing this play and I want you to do the lead character. He said, no, I am busy right now, but next time surely I'll do. So when I did the premiere show of my play, that guy, he came to watch my play. And after my play got over, that was the premiere show and the first play as a character. I got standing ovation, and that guy, after the show, he came that, Kismat, I want to do the second show. Then I told him, no, you can't do it.
Alright. That kind of reminded me of this incident when in 2015 we were, Gunjan and I, we had come back from India and we wanted to do Nepali version of the Vagina monologues in Nepal. Srijana was part of it, everybody was part of it, and we wanted to do it. We were really skeptical because it hadn't been done before, and we wanted to do it in Nepali because in English it just catered to a certain class, and in Nepali it would be more this thing. So we were prepared and we had done workshops and we were kind of in an intimate setting and working together and everything. And what happened was, when we were getting near to the show and everything, and I was like, yeah, let's do it, and all of us were really pumped up because it's gonna be great and everything. And then we realized that for rehearsals, because everything was very intimate, we would sit together in a group, and we would in an intimate group, and we wouldn't allow any other person, like male person, to be in the group because we were sharing about our stories, and there was a lot of personal sharing that was happening. But that made a lot of people very insecure. And right 3-4 days before the show, we realized that they were creating these small propaganda around the theater that we were supposed to perform in, and they had especially 1 or 2 boys, they had a problem that a bunch of urban girls were coming to ruin Nepali women, and that we were being these radical feminists and ruining everything. And I think other times now, when I look back at it, I don't think I would have been affected if it was now, but at that time I was so skeptical because it was something new and it kind of really tore me apart. I was in tears. That person personally attacked me also to kind of, this is shit, what are you doing, and it doesn't suit you to do something like this. And and when I went to the higher authorities that this has been happening, they're like, oh, just let it be because he's a mentally tormented person, so let it be, don't worry about it, and then till now, like, they kind of didn't even address that issue. And I just wanted to ask you, like, how many times, like, you've faced certain challenges in your work where you've had to be answerable to things that you'd rather not, and you have to be answerable just because you're a woman. Is there anybody would like to share?
Yeah, ladies. I started to direct when I was 19. I was already producing my television show, and I came back to theatre. I did television for a while, and when I came back, starting from zero was very difficult, and very few people were welcoming because they feel threatened that a girl is so much powerful and stronger than a man, and then there was this case where they made me direct the whole thing, and it was not named, they didn't give me the director's name, somebody else has put his name. So that has happened to me twice or thrice, but I have to keep quiet because they're the gods, And this, after I started to speak, people didn't like me so much. They haven't liked me after that, so yeah, there are cases where I was not given the right of the director, though I directed the play. And as an actor also, not only as a director, as an actor also, when you want to explore and you want to do something new, and when you put your ideas to your director, a male director, that I want to do this, then he shuts you up, like, you're too much, you're overdoing it, acting over smart. So that has happened, and
Shabari, Nimi, you would like to share anything about this?
I don't know how the theatre community is much in the north part of India, but I think in the south part of India, people are generally very nice. I don't think, as much I know, I don't think there is much of this aggression that happens between male directors, female directors. And I also have a problem with this term female director, because we don't call our male directors male directors. Why would we call female directors? I feel we have to just address people as individuals, because we don't make that segregation for the other gender. And also it's just that we are capable of thinking for ourselves and we see people as individuals. So I think there is a differentiation, but I don't think in South we don't have so much of that power struggle. And I think theatre is also a place where people come because they want to express something, and that happens from a very equal space. But I can't be very sure for this part, for the north part of India, because I don't have much working experience with that part. Yeah.
I don't know, I feel like I would disagree with you that, there isn't the kind of gender dynamic, and I feel like while I agree that, we don't call out the gender of a male director, but we do a female director, and I agree with that. But yet I feel like there is a lot of gendered way of approaching power, of approaching a dynamic that comes from a gender socialization. So whether you're called a man or a woman director, the way you're socialized does play a role in how you direct, I think. And I feel like the way that I direct, I think definitely has something to do with the fact that I am a woman, and also I have 2 children. A 7-year-old boy and a 4-year-old girl. And I think that has a huge impact, the fact that I might be having my period, or maybe I'm, there are so many things about me that are female, that I am a woman, and I think that does come across, or that does have some role to play in the way I direct. And I feel like the same applies to men, that the way they are encouraged to and socialized to carry themselves in society does have an impact on how they carry themselves in a rehearsal room as well. Going back to your kind of earlier point of like what have you had to be accountable to something that you don't want to, and I feel like for me actually it's this role of being a mother, because very often when people first see me, they don't assume that I have kids. And then when I do kind of say that I have children, they most often say, what have you done with them? Like, did you like lock them in? And I'm like, yeah, I locked them in the room and I came to be in this rehearsal or came to Nepal, I just shut them somewhere. And this assumption that as the mother, you are the sole primary giver. Nobody else can give care to your children. One thing, nobody else is capable of caring for your children. And if you don't care for your children, then somehow you are at fault. And this is something that I've had to deal with. Or the other thing is, oh wow, you're so lucky. No, I made certain choices about how I want to parent my children, and I honestly feel that after having given birth, like the biological part of it, my partner and I are parents. Yeah. I feel like I don't want to be a mother. Like I don't want that kind of gender attachment to what kind of parent I am. I'm a parent, he's a parent. We're both parents, and that's the end of it. But not so. I haven't felt so much of a kind of negative pressure from a male counterpart or something like that, but just from women who often say like, oh, what have you done with them? Where are they? Are they hiding somewhere? Like, yeah.
I also wanted to talk about a lot of things, but we also need to open the floor. But there are 2 points that I want to talk about. Like I can just put it out there. One is about just having to, so for me, when I chose to do theatre, like when I chose, when it wasn't this dysfunctional thing, and when I decided that this is what I want to do, I also made this choice of realizing that I would probably have to lose a lot of relationships, lose a lot of friendships, lose a lot of family ties, because this required a lot of my energy and time and my devotion, and I think it is very difficult for me to, in theatre, like the theatre that we do, there is no holiday, there is no time, there is no, like, it is very hard to balance, and you kind of really need to, I kind of really needed to just choose this over everything else and bear the repercussions of it, and sometimes I want to go back to this normal life where things were rosy, but I know that I can't live without it. And if you want to comment on that. And second thing, I must get at this because I really need to, and is about the Me Too movement, and I wanted to get at this even though there is no time. The wave started and it took over in the US and then in India, and in Nepal it came in bits and pieces, but it came, and then in education sector and maybe a few journalistic sector, but people are not talking about it. Even now here, like, we know of experiences, we know of people, we can name people, but we're not talking about it. And it's just really concerning for me why we're not talking about it. And I wonder if it is that same reason, you know, when that person who kind of attacked me for doing vagina monologues, and then I complained to somebody and then he said, oh, let it be, it's okay. I think it's that kind of mentality, that let it be mentality, it's fine, let it be. Why create conflict that's creating? And what is your take on it? Why didn't it come as an uproar in South Asian scenario the way it did in the West or in the theatre? Just your take on it. Anybody? Srijana दिदीबाट स्टार्ट गर्ने हो कि किन चाहिँ हामी कहाँ चाहिँ त्यो कुराहरू भएन होला? थाहा छ सबैलाई, तर किन त्यो कुराहरू बाहिर आइरहेको छैन?
म पनि आधी यहाँनिर होइन, हामी अलिकति केही गरौँ भनेर आएको थिएँ, तर कोही बोल्नलाई अलिकति, सबैजना बोल्नलाई अलिकति हिचकिचाएको हो जस्तो लाग्छ थिएटरमा चाहिँ। मैले चाहिँ स्टार्ट गरौँ भनेको थिएँ, मैले चाहिँ सुरु गर्न खोजेको थिएँ, तर एक्लै भएपछि कस्तो हुँदो रहेछ, आँटै आएन मलाई चाहिँ, एक्लै भएपछि चाहिँ आँट आएन। सायद कस्तो छ भने सबैजना एक अर्कामा, हामी थिएटरमा चाहिँ कस्तो छौँ भने डिपेन्डेन्ट छौँ जस्तो लाग्छ मलाई। मैले भने यसकोबाट मैले काम पाउँदिनँ, यो सोचाइ छ जस्तो लाग्छ मलाई। काम पाउँदिनँ, त्यही भएर होइन प्रोटेक्ट गर्नुपर्छ भनेर हाम्रो सिनियर दिदीहरूले नै एकदम बचाएर राख्नु भएको छ उहाँहरूलाई। त्यो चाहिँ एकदमै नराम्रो कुरा हो। त्यसमाथि हामी थप्या छौँ, यो जतिदेखि त हामी थप्या हो, हामी पनि जिम्मेवार छौँ जस्तो लाग्छ। हामीले पनि केही गर्न सकेनौँ भने अब गरेनौँ, अब हामीभन्दा पछिको जेनेरेसनले त गर्ने कुरै भएन। मैले त देखाएको छु, मभन्दा पछिको जेनेरेसनले त्यो भोगेको त्यो होइन। अब उसले पनि बोल्दैन, ऊ गायब छ, थिएटरै छोडेर कतिजना गायब भएको देखेको छु होइन। अब यो चिजहरू छ, तर खोइ सबैजना डिपेन्डेन्ट भएको हो जस्तो लाग्छ।
What she was getting at is how the theatre community is very incestuous. Everybody is a brother, sister, everything. So that kind of gives you this thing to, oh, I need to protect this person, or maybe like, okay, maybe his career will really go away. And then another thing is, it has been passing on for generations, and the protection has been passed on. And then again, another thing is, you kind of feel alone because there is no solidarity. Anyone else would like to comment on this?
Srijana already mentioned that we're a very small theatre society here. You've been seeing the festival for the past week, so as our background of theatre, we are more active in Kathmandu. So everybody knows everybody, you know. So the main problem problem is that we know each other too well. I think that's the feeling. And we're scared that we will not get jobs, we will not get roles, what will we do after that? And there's no unity, I guess. It's only hypocrisy, basically, because we had sessions. I was meeting with this journalist who has filed a case against her boss, a senior who abused her at her workplace. So she wants to do these stories, but none of the girls are ready because they're scared of this stigmatization, and also because of the work, what would we do after that? That's the main problem. And the other thing is, I've said it before also, the very religious thing that we have, our seniors are our gods, we should listen to them, you know, that makes, it pressurizes that. We're pressurized so much that they don't let us come up or release ourselves. So I think that is the main problem why nobody's speaking. And our homes, if I keep arguing with my parents that if you people had taught us to argue, and if you had, Mom, if you had taught me to say no, I could have said no so many times in my life. Now, like, I let my son do whatever he wants to. And I've taught him that if you don't like it, you say no. Here we keep quiet because we're ashamed of it.
I feel it is a large social change that has to really take place, and I think that has to really, like you said, it has to begin at home. Because I know close family members who tell us, you know, it's because some of us behave the way that we behave that, you know, it gives the others the right to do what they want to do. So I think more than anything, I think it has to start in the family, where one has to just educate ourselves and also the immediate family first. And I think the change probably will begin from there. And also the thing of, like, you know, probably trusting the girls a little bit more, to say that, you know, we sort of understand and believe what you say, because it's usually, you know, we don't believe. You know, there is a huge disbelief. How could this happen? Maybe you are mistaken, you are mistaken. Maybe it's just, you know, you just thought that it would have happened. I think it has to start from that thing of, like, you know, trusting and believing, and before passing a judgment, probably.
So I think that's very true, and but once you do say no, once you do stop something from happening, then what? And one of the things that we did in Bangalore, and I think it happened in Delhi as well, is have a large meeting of people who are staked in the kind of creative fields to think about how do we address this. In Bangalore, we did that, and one of the things, of course, is that everybody knows everybody. It might be a bit bigger, but still, you know, there are connections, there are, I am so-and-so student, I am so-and-so's friend, resources are kind of often shared. There is no protocol, there is nobody to go to, there is no, so while there is the, you know, the sexual harassment prevention laws in workplaces that have systems in place, the cultural space really doesn't have that. So there is no accountability very often, there is no accountability. There is no accountability, there is no protection, there is no recourse, there is nowhere to go. So one of the things that we have been working on is to create a kind of a charter, you know, and maybe have some kind of protocol in place, some kind of group that can, somebody who, you know, can be called about if something happens. Also to call up venues and spaces like a Ranjitkar or like a Shunya or whatever, and ask them, so what are your protocols? Do you have anything in place already as a space? And there are a lot of people who come in and go out, or, you know, Junkiri. These are famous, well-respected theatre venues. And also to look at personal protocol of, you know, a rehearsal space. Like we say, this will be a safe space. If you want to share something, you can be safe. Like we say, do you have any injuries that I need to know about before we start working? To also say, these are the things that we are going to do for sexual protection against, sexual abuse. To state it out front and say, this is what we stand by. So while we have other ethical standards, can we also include practice of what is going to happen? Of course, these are very idealistic thoughts, it might be the director herself or himself who is the perpetrator, then what? And yes, there are a lot of complexities to this, but I think the conversation has been started looking at the complex nature of a very and theatre, one of the reasons we all do theatre is because it's so permissive. We can actually do things that we want to do, we can actually be in our bodies the way we want to, and then that line becomes so much more grey. So much more. In an office, if I put my hand on your shoulder, it could be considered, but in a theatre space, I might easily be rolling on top of you, and then where are those boundaries?
Yeah, and those exercises have happened, some theatre people have used exercises as an excuse to harass young girls, and it's a very problematic thing that has been happening.
So I think what I can say is that definitely in Bangalore, conversations have begun to think about addressing the complexity, not curtailing it, not making it sanitized, but also having some kind of recourse.
Alright, I think I also would like to open the floor for questions and everything. If anybody would have questions, we can go up to 5 or 10 minutes. Anybody would like to ask anything to any of the panelists?
Namaste, I'm Sakuntala Joshi. I have not good English, so I want to question in Nepali. हाम्रो लुनिबाजी सृजनाजीसँग त हामी यही छौँ होइन, हामीले कसरी काम गरिरहेछौँ जनरली हामीलाई एकअर्काको सेयरिङ हामीले हेरेर पनि हामीलाई थाहा छ। इन्डियाको साथीहरू जो हुनुहुन्छ उहाँहरूको एक्सपिरियन्सहरू हामीले अहिले सुन्यौँ होइन, हामीले भोगेको जस्तै जस्तै सिनारीहरू हामीले जसरी चाहिँ इस्युलाई एज ए वुमन फेस गरिरहेछौँ त्यो कुराहरू उहाँहरूले पनि फेस गरेको भन्ने खालको एक्सपिरियन्सहरू सुन्यो होइन। तर मलाई के लाग्यो भने अहिलेसम्म जति हामी काम गर्दै आएका छौँ हुन त यो हाम्रो नेपालमा त थिएटरको हिस्ट्री त्यति धेरै एक हिसाबको छ, तर हामीले जसरी अहिलेको यो स्टेजमा आएको छौँ यो त धेरै लामो पनि भएको छैन होइन। तर इन्डियामा त धेरै लामो हिस्ट्री छ नि थिएटरको आर्टको होइन, इन्डियामा धेरै लामो हिस्ट्री छ। त्यस कारणले उहाँहरूले गरेको स्ट्रगल एज ए इन्डिभिजुअल मात्रै अहिले भर्खरको हो नि, गर्दै आएको त लामो समय भइसकेको छ। त्यस कारणले उहाँहरूले चाहिँ इन्डियामा चाहिँ इस्यु बेस्ड काम हुन्छ कि हुँदैन कि मुद्दाहरूमा, कि हामी जहिले पनि एज ए वुमन हाम्रो मात्रै कुराहरू भनिन्छ नि, यहाँ एउटा चाहिँ जार्गनहरू छ नि हामीलाई आरोप लाउने, महिलाहरू भने जहिले पनि आफ्नै गनगन मात्रै सुनाइ बस्छ, हाम्रो आफ्नो मात्रै कुरा यो त्यो, हाम्रो त्यो भन्न बाँकी नै छ। किनभने हामीले स्टिल सृजनाले त्यो फेस गरेको छ, स्टिल लुनिभाले त्यो फेस गरेको छ, स्टिल आई एम अल्सो अ मदर, मैले पनि कति फेस गरेँ होला होइन। त्यो एउटा पार्ट छ, हामीले त्यो स्ट्रगल सँगसँगै हामीले अब सोसाइटीको भेराइटिज अफ इस्यु होइन, इस्युको जुन डाइभर्सिफिकेसन छ, जुन माथि चाहिँ अरूले काम गरिरहेछन्, एज ए मेल काम गरिरहेछन्, त्यसरी हामी काम कहिले गर्न थाल्छौँ अथवा कसरी काम गरिरहेछ इन्डियामा त्यो लेभलले। हुन त अघि यहाँ देखाइएको नाटकमा अलिकति कुराहरू त आएको छ, तर त्यो पनि फेरि फिमेलकै होइन, महिलाहरूको एज ए फिमेलको प्रब्लमकै केही कुराहरू नै त्यहाँ सिम्बोलाइज भएको जस्तो मलाई लाग्यो। तर ओभरअलमा चाहिँ ओभरअल समाजमाथिको मुद्दामाथि हामीले सोसियल मुद्दामाथि अरू आम मान्छेहरूको मुद्दामाथि चाहिँ हामी एज ए फिमेल काम गर्नेतिर हामीले सोचेका छौँ कि छैनौँ, अहिले इन्डियामा कस्तो हुन्छ त्यो पनि।
Thank you. Question to the three of you, whoever wants to answer. basically, like Nepal has a very short history of theatre and art and culture, but India as a country has had a really big history. And every time, like when we do a woman director makes a play or a performance here, it kind of gets boxed into this thing of, oh, she made a play about women's issues or whatever. So in India, how is it like when in the community of, oh, she made a play about women's issues or whatever. So in India, how is it like when in the community that where you worked in, do you take these socio-political issues and they're not just women's issues, but they're also larger socio-political issues? How has work been happening in that area? So anybody, maybe?
Yeah, I think personally I feel like yes, my work has definitely been very socio-political. I think because I honestly actually feel it's because the body is a socio-political thing. The way we dress, the way we talk, the way we move, the way we're looked at placed on a stage is a socio-political act. So to me, being interested in the body is definitely being interested in the materiality of the body, like just the materiality of it, but also in the way it's looked at, like how do I view something on a stage. So that's one layer of being socio-political. I don't think of my work particularly as activist-y. It's not activist kind of work. And so like with the Big Fat Company, for example, we have stayed away from a very overt gendered discourse. We've stayed away from that. So it's not about, while of course it's different for fat women and fat men, that's not been the crux of what we've talked about. It's just about having a large body. What does that even feel like? How is that? And that itself is socio-political in some ways. So yeah, I feel like gender is definitely not the only socio-political stream that runs through work, but it's definitely like the minute you put a body on stage, there's a gender view to it.
I think in India we've had many female prominent directors who not necessarily have talked about political work, but I think anything could be political if you view it from that point of view. And I think especially in Adishakti, the kind of work that we do in Pondicherry, in the south part of India, I feel we are leaning more towards what's the politics of philosophy, what's the politics of ethics, and how do you put yourself, or how do you engage yourself as an individual, as an artist, to certain issues that you have. And it may not have to be issues, it's just ideas. Are we engaging ourselves in those kind of thoughts? So I guess we've had examples of women directors who have sort of shown that path for us. Yeah, so it's been both ways. At the end of the day, what matters is how do you view your work, and is it engaging enough for you to continue for a certain number of years to come. So I guess, yeah.
I have done 3 plays, so 3 plays are different from each other. And I'm telling about you Assam, where I live. I think, when I do play, when audience come, they don't have that mentality, okay, that if Kismat is doing this production, she has certain issues. Because they know, I have done 3 plays, and whatever I like, if I like story, I take it, I script, and I do the direction. So in my case, if I tell you that the audience come, they don't come with this mentality. And yes, there are certain governments in Assam, in India, they are working on these issues, social, political. But what I feel is that whatever, as a director, what I if I like story, I direct it. And if it depends on me whether I want to show that issues or not. So it's like that.
Alright. For one more question.
And one small experience in Assam, when you talked about I was working with in Brahmaputra with the environmental play on dolphin, conservation of dolphin. And this organization who organized it, they invited youth to participate in the play, 15, 16 people, and then suddenly we only have boys, not a single female character, right? But we need female character, and how we pull up the play towards the end, one of the actors, he invited his own wife, who could sing. I mean, they were from the fisherman family. And in Assam, when you talk about this gender divide, also in the play, right? So for people do you think when you interact with your audiences, still women, in the experience, maybe this is my very limited experience, but in Assam, are there more female actors who are in your community, who you work with? Because I had a very bad experience, then I have to fight with these people. Because we had strictly written it has to be 50-50 male and female. But then we have to work with 15 male. And then one thing, and then I think I'll just do the other thing is very interesting, when you talk about gender, when you especially talk about, you also came up with that, and not only as a female director, as an individual, that's very wonderful. And the other thing, just to bring the ecological aspect, what is going on in the planet around the world. I think as a theater artist, as a cultural worker, I believe we lack that female energy. I think it's too much about male drafting the policies. It's not, I'm talking about gender, but the thought of it, right? So I feel the kind of work that you do, for example, Kausi Theatre was inaugurated with a very beautiful play on a tree, And that's probably first time we have in Nepali theatre something that spoke at the poetic level about the ecology and the environment. So as women directors, I'm not saying that just because you're a female director, but that's where. So how do you find the connection with nature also, in your works, with the ecology, the changing environment? Because just to give you why I'm asking is from my perspective, I believe that female energy beyond the gender, even as Asmina and we collaborate a lot with this team. So it's how do you find that nature connection in your work? Because you talk about your body, menstruation, which the male don't have experience. I think that is coming in direct contact with nature, and there are so many aspects of it. So just
there's scarcity of female actors in Assam, because earlier there was financial crisis, because they will do theatre and there is no that much financially. It's not sounding. In Assam theatre, the youth also, if they want to do theatre, they can't do professionally because of the financial problem. So earlier there was financial problem, and now the young girls, they think that why to waste 1 to 3 months in rehearsal, better to do a TV serial for one day shooting. So the most of them, they are attracted to the serials of national channels, and those who are dedicated, I think like me, I am doing theatre. And even in my play also, when I start play, there's always scarcity of female actors, and that's why I always do the lead character in my own play. But next time if you come to Assam, you can contact me. I am always ready.
I have a different take on this, because I'm most often told that I don't look female on stage, and I don't know why I should look female on stage. It's also because I attended a residency in Korea where we were given this exercise. We were given a white paper and a pen, and we were told to make a circle, and we were told to make a graph as to how much you feel female and male, right? So there were some people who had marked 73.6% female, they feel, right? So So I was very perplexed. I was wondering, I don't feel that. I feel when my mother touches my hair, I feel something that is more sensuous as compared to when I stand on stage, which I feel very strong, which is something else for me. So I think I don't see body as male or female. Of course there is the visible shapes that you see, but for me, I don't know how to explain it in words, but for me they are just energies that you feel. It's like when you see an ocean, you don't feel very, of course there is strength in it, but you don't go like that. You feel a sense of, a release, as opposed to if you go to a forest. You walk into a forest very dark, you don't feel that sense of release of a breath. You feel something else. So I don't see this shift as to how much female and male. It's very much like you look at a tree, you look at a papaya tree. Of course there is male and female, but they look the same. So I don't know how to differentiate that. So I think when it comes to nature and the nature itself tells you there is not much of a differentiation. So I don't know why we should do that as actors and directors.
I don't think I have much to say on this because currently at least my work doesn't engage a lot with ecological issues.
I did some forum theatre and street theatre on ecology and the whole environment. That was basically development theatre, which actually we survive on. That I did it for money. And in my play, I tell my actors, whenever they're entering the stage, where are you coming from? High up? Tarai? Where are you? Pahar? Where are you coming from? Because I think that literally shows where actors coming from. That really describes the character. And in my last two plays, in my place somewhere I touch the ambience and the environment, but I really don't talk about them.
Alright. I think we need to kind of come to closing as well, and you can talk to our panelists after the formal closing as well. Thank you for being here, all five of you. There's so much to talk about, like individually, and I didn't even get at your work and everything. Shabari, you'll be there tomorrow for the director's discussion. Nimmi won't have a director's discussion. Kismat will be there tomorrow, hopefully, at 10 o'clock. So that's at 10 o'clock at Shilpi Theatre. The plays that happened today will be part of director's discussion. Thank you for being here. You all are exemplary women, hard-working women, amazing women, and now role models for a lot of younger people. So thank you for all your work and your conviction. Thank you, audience.
Thank you so much. Happening at Mandala, but I think all of us missed that. But there's one more panel discussion happening at Mandala at 7 p.m. So if you'd like to join that, please do. And tomorrow is our last day. Please come watch all the plays. We have Mimi on stage tomorrow at 3, so you have to watch her. Thank you for being here. Good evening. Thank you.